Welcome back to another episode, and in this one I'm going to go ahead and start installing the accessories to the engine. And if you saw my last video, I kind of go with the unboxing of the new engine and going what new changes are going to happen with the car. And if you've just noticed, the engine is slightly different from when I did the unveiling a while back. I went ahead and spray painted it, or painted it, yeah, however you want to word it, painted it, the whole engine, except for the valve cover. So everything got a new fresh coat of paint, and it looks really nice. I really like how it came out, and I did not end up recording this portion when I was painting it. If you are curious what I did to get it prepped for the paint, I used the wire wheel to go ahead and just, sand it down pretty much, get any little rough spots out of the way. Then once that was said and done, I did use 2 coats with this, so 1 bottle was enough for me, and here I actually used 1.5 cans of paint. So the other one's in the trash. I still have maybe about half, and I did 3 coats of this paint right here. I mean, it looks like brand spanking new, like right out of the factory, so I'm really happy on how that turned out. And I'll post some pictures of the process so you can see pretty much what I did. And then the true question comes, how long is this paint, gonna last on the engine? I guess, I'll be the guinea pig for that. I'll definitely keep a mental side note of, say a year from now, how is the paint holding up? So I'll definitely give an update on the paint. Alright, so that's enough of me talking. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start installing the accessories. So first I'm going to start off with installing the clutch. Here is a recap of the clutch. So I have the 034 Motorsports lightweight flywheel, and with that being said, since I'm going to a different clutch, here's a new face plate for this part right here. So this will be removed and replaced with a new one, and also with new hardware. And this is the new clutch right here. So this is a Ringer Racing Stage 4 clutch. This is the new throwout bearing. Here's a little clutch key alignment tool, and with all these bolts we'll be using, you'll need thread locker for the installation. Here is the new friction plate. Everything's torqued to spec, and I got it all nice and clean. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this onto the engine now. There's the flywheel, and I have already torqued the spec. If you've never installed a clutch before, there's 2 sides to the clutch disc. You got the flywheel side, and on this side you got the pressure plate. Luckily for me, it has it labeled right here, flywheel side. If yours doesn't have that, the one way to know which is the correct way, the way that goes towards the flywheel will always be kind of like flush, so if that makes sense. And then this part right here that sticks out will always be towards the pressure plate. So to get it aligned, you'll need a tool like this. Let's call it like I think it's like a clutch centralizer tool. I don't know what the correct term is, but it goes in through here into the little teeth, and then this part right here will go into right here. So it's pretty simple, self-explanatory. Goes in, and it helps to centralize your clutch disc onto your flywheel. And when it comes to putting the pressure plate on the flywheel, there's these little dowels right here. So for the 034 Motorsports, there's 1, 2, 3 dowels, and that will help you align the pressure plate. That is how you align your pressure plate. So now go ahead and start putting some screws in to hold it in place so it doesn't fall out. I just went ahead and threaded only 2 screws, one right here and one over here, because these need to have some, just like the bolts for the flywheel, these need thread lock on them and also torqued at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and put thread lock on these 4, torque it, and then I'll remove these bolts right here, put thread lock, and then torque this thing down, and that's pretty much how you install the clutch. And also I still have the Centralizer clutch tool installed still, so still leave this in until you finish torquing the pressure plate. Alright, so every bolt is torqued to spec. Now once that is done, as mentioned, now I can go ahead and remove this clutch alignment tool. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. Right there's the clutch. Looks pretty cool. Alright, first thing I'm gonna go ahead and install is the oil cooler and the new O-rings, and the bolts are still in the old block. So what I meant by, if you saw my last video, I said I like to leave the bolts where they are so you can kind of see. So for the oil cooler, it's these bolts right here. So 1, 2, and then the other 2 are right here. So whenever I need to go ahead and transfer it over here, I can go ahead and remove it and put it back and put it where it is. So that's what I meant by, hopefully this makes more sense as to why I decided to keep this for right now with the screws still on, so I can go ahead and transfer it over when it's time for me to install things back onto this without me trying to find a baggie that says whatever these size screws are. Here's the progress so far on the passenger side. So the oil cooler's in, this little bracket for the alternator, and the hoses for that goes to the oil cooler on this side, and then this hose right here that goes into the alternator right here. So pretty straightforward. And the next thing I'm going to work on is the starter. So right now this is as far as I can get with the starter. Since the starter, there's 2 bolts that connect the starter to the end, to the block, but the thing is, one of the bolts right here, so the 2 bolts are used to also connect the transmission onto the engine. So right now I can only use 1 bolt just for the time being, just to keep it in place, and then the other bolt is still in the transmission itself right here. And the reason why it's still here is because this is a long bolt, I'm not able to remove it because it hits up against this. So I'll just have to keep a little side note when it comes to installation, that the starter is not 100% in place. So when I do have it in here, I'm gonna go ahead and maneuver my hand somehow to keep it in place as I'm tightening these 2 bolts, because this is where the starter right here goes. The next step is to put the passenger side headers, but the thing is I can't remember if I put on the headers first and then the bolts. I remember I talked about this in several episodes back, where with the headers that I have, it's not, if you put on the headers first, you're not able to put on the other hardware. So you gotta put on the other hardware first and then the headers. So I gotta kind of think in my head what needs to be done. So I'm gonna call it a day for today for me. So far the progress I've done so far is I have the alternator bracket, the oil cooler, engine mount, and the starter. And I'm gonna leave the headers till last. I actually changed my mind on that, because if I install the headers are gonna stick out to like right around here, and with my limited space that I have, like say I have to move, I don't want to just bang my knees or my shins over. So I'm just gonna go ahead, leave this as is, stow it away. I have a little mess right now going on with all the parts that I'm getting down, all the accessories. So making pretty good progress. I'm really happy with what I've been able to do so far today. And yes, so alright, so I don't know when I'll be able to record again, but for you guys it'll be the next second. It's another day. So, and on this side, the driver's side, the accessories that are going to be installed today is the power steering, the AC compressor goes right here, the water pump, and then the engine mount on the driver's side. In order to install the power steering, there's going to be a total of 3 screws. Right now I'm only going to be able to do 2 of the screws, because the 3rd screw, so the 2 screws go right there, and the 3rd screw is right there, and that's where the transmission goes. The bolt for the transmission onto the engine, so I won't be able to install those just yet. So within the 2 screws that I can install, one is longer than the other. So the longest one's going to be up here, and the shorter one is going to be down here, and where they go is right here. So here's where the long one is, and down below right here is where the shorter one goes. And then this right there will connect to these little teeth right here, and that's where that bolt goes for this part right here for the transmission, as mentioned. Alright, so next I'm going to install is the water pump. So a few things. So here there needs to be a new O-ring, which I have, so I'll put that in when it's time to go and install it. And right here there's 3 things you need to keep in count. So in here, I'm going to show you the water pump right here. So you have 2 O-rings. You got an O-ring right there, a second O-ring right there, and this Allen screw extension water pump, mid-jigger, whatever you want to call it. So these O-rings right here, so I can do this with one hand and have the camera in the other. So this hole right here is going to go into this right here. So there's like a little groove right here where this O-ring is supposed to lay in. Lay in here first, and there. So that is the new O-ring right there. And then this O-ring right here, similar, there's a little groove that goes right here. And there. So O-ring right there, O-ring right there, and O-ring right there when the time comes. And then you have this Allen, this long Allen hex long screw. So this is what powers the water pump. So what happens is there's a gear back here, around here, and that gear, there's also another long one, but it's longer than this, and that connects to the oil pump. And the oil pump there's gears, and then those gears at the same time turn this, which turns the water pump. Alright, so pretty much now there's 2 screws right there that connect right here and here, and for the water pump to attach to here, there are 4 screws. So there's 2 long ones and 2 short ones. The 2 long ones go right here, and the 2 shorter ones go down in the bottom. So the long screws go right there, and the short screws right there. And again, this Allen key that connects to this right here, I went ahead and lubed up the O-rings just a little bit, just for these parts to slide in with ease. And now, so once that's all got these screws in, go ahead and torque these down to spec, and that's pretty much the water pump. That's the water pump, nice and easy. So next is going to be I'm going to go ahead and do with the AC compressor. Next is the AC compressor. And the AC compressor goes right here. And then there's this rod right here. So this is threads into here, and this is regular thread right here. So to tighten it, go clockwise. And then on this end right here, connects to right here. And this is what drives the gear. So this gear is driven by the timing chain, along like these other gears as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and tighten, put this in, bolt it on, and then align this. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to align this first, and then put on the screws. Alright, AC compressor is installed. All the bolts that connect the AC to the engine is torqued to spec. This connection right here is tightened. This is over connected to this little gear sprocket now, and that's pretty much the AC compressor. Alright, so now the side engine mount on the driver's side is, I didn't torque these yet because I don't remember which one I have to remove, but when the time comes, and I'm repeating myself, I will go ahead and remove that. So now this is attached to this little screw right here. Here is the dipstick housing. So it's recommended, definitely if you have this out, to go ahead and change that O-ring right there. Obviously mine is torn, and here's that new green O-ring, and this right here is the part number right there, if you're just curious. So actually I stand corrected, I'm not putting in the dipstick first, because when the dipsticks is right here, it's actually again in the way of installing the headers. So I'm actually going to go ahead and end the video here, because as I'm editing this video, it's already passing the 14-minute mark, which I'm trying to achieve with these videos. I don't want to make these too long, so I'm trying to do as minimum talking right now. So in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and continue installing the front side of the engine, all the components that go there. I'm gonna go ahead the back side here, you know, the crossover pipes, and then I'll eventually put the headers on. And I'll actually go into a little bit more detail again in the next video on how to install the gaskets and also torque these as in a special pattern. So with that said, I'm making pretty good progress with what I want to do with the engine. I'm very excited. I'm just, you know, getting really close to getting this engine back onto the car. So hope this video was educational and helpful, and hope you guys have a good one. Thanks.